Hi, everybody. This is Marilyn. Do we have any audio for this? I hope. Thanks. Okay. Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Marilyn, and it's time for the noon edition of Welcome to My World. This is Tuesday, the 17th of May. So, we had some news numbers come out this morning at 8:30 and a couple more a little later. Uh, they were surprisingly positive. At least they weren't negatives, but they looked to be with no surprises, uh, right at the forecast, or in most cases a little bit more positive than the forecast. But the markets this morning, I think all of us have found this a little bit choppier than we really like. But what do we know about choppy mornings? Just about 9 times out of 10, nothing in trading is 100%, that's for sure. But very often, the afternoon will bring a trend. So if you have found this a little frustrating and a little difficult to trade, when you see these things that are just chopping around like this, just get up and go do something else. Come back after a while. The big boys come back from lunch around 1 Eastern time. So uh, sometimes we'll get a nice trend starting around 1 or 1:30, and sometimes it's 2 or 2:30. But typically the afternoons, anytime it's been choppy in the mornings, uh, the afternoon will be a little more encouraging, and vice versa. If the mornings have given us some really nice trades, I strongly suggest that you don't sit there and try to trade that in the afternoon, because you're going to be giving most of your money back to the bus driver. So let's see. We've had all of the indices, with the one exception of TF. The rest of them they've been pretty well in sync. TF has been a little it went down with them this morning, but then it decided to turn around. So it's been a little more volatile. Bonds put up a very nice trend this morning. So that was the only trending, and for a while gold did. But crude oil has been a bit of a brat today. This thing is, number one of the things that has made this so difficult this morning, of course, it's just this bus drivers going back and forth across settlement. Finally decided to get out of there, but that took a while. But look at the volume. This is relatively low volume in crude oil. And the reason for that is we are on the June contract, and this week we're going to be rolling crude oil. The question is when. What we try to do is follow the big money. Just follow the money. It's almost always the best policy. And right now, a lot of these contracts from the big boys are being rolled into the next month. Remember, crude oil contracts change every month. They roll to the next month. Not every commodity does that. Some of them skip 2 months, and some of them go to 1 month one time and 2 or 3 months the next time, and they all are a little different. But crude oil is pretty easy to keep track of because it changes every single month. I do not like to trade to roll the contract on inventory day, which will be tomorrow. So right now we're in a bit of a dilemma. This June contract's trading 282,000 contracts versus the next month is about 192 right now. So later this afternoon, I'll take a look at that and see, and I will have a note up on my chart tomorrow about just to remind you of what contract. If you are trading crude oil on Nadex, you need to be on the July contract. Nadex is different than people trading futures. It's a whole different animal. So, Jared asked a really good question about the VIX. Any other good news on the markets? The VIX is a bit of it's commonly referred to as the fear factor. The more fearful traders become and or investors or whatever you want to call the people who buy all kinds of stocks and what have you, which are the underlying to these futures contracts. The VIX will give us an indication of just how nervous they're getting. And right now the VIX is trading 1469. When it gets down to around 13, 13 and a half, the options traders aren't very happy because they like it really high for the volatility. But what that tells us is that the underlying stocks are, there's not quite so much fear in there. And as this goes up, which at some point it's highly likely to do, then we're going to see these markets sell off. Right now, we're still in earnings season. I think this week and maybe next week too. Higher is more fearful. Lower is less fearful. So normal for the VIX is around 13, 13 and a half. I can promise you when it gets to 35, you're going to see these indices selling off hand over fist. So we'll keep an eye. That's why I kind of keep track of this. There's a lot of the talking heads out there that, you know, blah blah blah. They'll tell you how completely overbought it is, and you know, but the global economies, all of them, are on kind of shaky ground simply because I'm still absolutely reeling from Janet Yellen saying that they're watching what negative interest rates do to other economies before they do anything. Well, it just leaves me speechless. Okay, fine, whatever. But none of China is falling off with its economic growth. The U.S., we're on very shaky ground financially. You can't be, I don't know, I even have lost track of how many trillions of dollars that were in the hole. You can't have that go on and on and on and on and on forever. One of the things that I think is making some of these markets a little nervous is I've been watching this now for about the last 6 months, a lot closer than normal. But Venezuela has got a lot of problems. And they have a president there who is the president of a country with the 6th largest oil reserves on the planet Earth. And his qualifications for being president is he was a bus driver. So they're in kind of a world of hurt. And now it looks like there is likely going to be a coup. there's going to be something. I can tell you that because they're absolutely. It's not possible for them to go on. I don't. I mean, they're truly on life support. So it's going to. That's one of the things that has caused crude oil to keep on going, along with what's happening in the Middle East. The Saudis are, they're not about to knock off production. I don't care what they say, but uh, the some of the other Middle Eastern countries are having difficulty getting their crude oil to market for various reasons, which I think are pretty obvious. So all that stuff going on just doesn't give uh, investors and some of this big money a whole heck of a lot of confidence. And this is one of the reasons why it is so valuable to learn how to trade the way we do at Apex, where you don't have trades on for very long. You take advantage of small moves in the market, and it can be quite profitable. The downside of that is you really and truly have to develop discipline, and you have to learn to read these indicators and trust them because they are spot on, absolutely spot on. So yes, Jared, in a high market, there will be a sell-off at some point. Sometimes that's a correction. It just corrects, for I don't know, some amount of days or what have you. Keep in mind that Friday of this week is this is the third Friday of the month, and that means it's options expiration. So the options, and I don't mean the Nadex options. I mean the straight up options on these underlying stocks and indices and futures contracts and all this. The futures contracts are not options are not expiring this Friday, but everything else is. So that also causes a lot of we're going to wait and see and deal with their option trades and what have you. Tomorrow, whether depending on whatever contract we're in, when contracts roll like this, you can expect the current month to sell off a little bit, and um, the next month, as the big boys are selling off the current contracts, they are buying. In other words, they're rolling their contracts too. They sell what they've got this month, and then they buy the next month. So it causes the market to go up and the current month to go down and the next month to go up. More and more selling in June and in the June contract, more and more buying in the July contract, and that doesn't typically last for very long. But be aware that it can start to happen, and it can start to happen going into the close, sometimes a little more. And Jared, no, I made a few little trades and got out at either break even or some fiddly little amount before I decided that I was just going to wait for the afternoon. This isn't my cup of tea. I don't like this kind of junk. And if the bus driver isn't going to do what I want him to, then I'm just not getting on his stupid bus. You just get some other passengers. So waiting is also not a bad idea. For those of you who have never paid attention or real close attention to this expected volume, let me show you this on my charts. Expected volume on crude oil. This is a real good reason why you don't want to be trading right now in crude oil. And I go by the number right here too. I always like to see just about, because when there are a lot of contracts trading, this will be 500,000-600,000, and we're not even 300,000 here. And look at our indicator is telling us there's not a lot of things moving here. So anyway, tomorrow morning, I want to tell people, especially those of you who like to trade currencies and the Forex pairs, tomorrow morning is going to be kind of a nice morning, I think, because starting about 4:30 in the morning, there is a whole bunch of significant economic numbers coming from Europe. So people that trade the pound or the euro, that should give you something to look at. And I would check um, that news tab on the Apex website because Daryl put some nice trades in there for stuff like this. And then at 10:30 tomorrow, we've got inventory. And the other big thing tomorrow, 2 o'clock, the Brain Trust will be releasing their minutes. So they've been dithering ever since they raised the interest rates in December. And then January, the market fell out of bed and they got blamed for it. And they didn't like that. And so they're a little hesitant to do that anymore. But they're trying to talk themselves into the idea that the economy is just roaring, so they need to raise the interest rates. Um, I guess that's why I refer to them as the Brain Trust. Anyway, that's also why this is my view in my world. so, and for those of you who are new to me doing this at noon, I'm basically taking a noon break for myself and I'm talking to myself. And Lori convinced me that I ought to just talk to everybody else while I'm talking to myself. So you're going to find a lot of websites that have real slick productions and they know everything and they've got this all figured out, and that's fine. Um, but that's not what this is. So if you're thinking that and you're a little disappointed, this was never meant to be that. Uh, we're all just a bunch of traders um, helping each other learn to trade. So keep that in mind too. And the other thing I want to tell, there's been some really good stuff posted in this chat this morning. And Anthony's made some great trades this morning. He's just, not anything uh, huge and not looking for anything huge, but he's made some real smart trades. And he's got a great analogy. I've talked about this before. If you start getting yourself into the money game here, and you're going to make so much money with these charts and all that kind of stuff, all that does is mess with your head, and it gets you very emotionally wrapped up into this. So what we do here is we try to set our goal for the month in dollars, however many dollars. I mean, I don't know, say it's $4,000. That's what you want to make. I picked that number because I can do it in my head. So how much is that a week? Well, that's $1,000 a week. Okay, so how much is that a day? Well, that's $200 a day. Okay, that's where you drop the dollars, right there. How many ticks does it take in the markets you like to trade to make that happen? What do you have to do to make that happen? And Anthony's got a great thing. He wants 100 ticks, only he doesn't do it in ticks. He's converted his mind to football, and he's doing yards. He makes a 20-yard gain. Fine. Then he's got 80 yards more to touchdown and keeps on going. So I think that's John Madden, isn't it? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure it is. I could tell you a story, but I won't. Anyway, I could be wrong about that, Anthony. But I love that analogy because to a lot of guys, especially that have played sports, how many you're not. I think Daryl has done this, and I've heard Denali uh, put in here too. A great thing about baseball, you're not looking for home runs here. I mean, how many home runs get hit in any game? What you're looking for is just singles over and over and over. It's keep it real simple and get the emotion out of it. So you have to convert those ticks to something that makes sense to you, but don't use money to do it with. Way too emotional. So anyway, I think I've blah blah blahed on enough. So I will come back tomorrow and see you. And I am so sorry about yesterday. Yesterday I had a uh, charting problem, and the lesson I learned. So you can all learn the lesson. I learned it big time. I had a bad tick somewhere. I think it was on the 6E, and I had deleted uh, all my data cache, etc. But I am told once in a great while, for me it was yesterday, that can happen to you. So if you get in a problem, get the Genius Department at Apex to help you because they really are good. So I will see you all tomorrow. This has been my view from my world in Apex land, brought to you by Apex Investing. Thanks.